Hi guys, I'm Hannah Cruz at the Church Musician's Assistant, and today I want to discuss some thoughts I have on growing church choirs. Search the internet for this topic and you're going to find an abundance of articles proclaiming like 3 ways to grow your choir, 5 ways to grow your choir, and even 10 ways to grow your choir. I may end up saying a lot of the same things that these other articles say, but I'm tackling this issue from a slightly different angle. Here's my basic philosophy on this matter. It is better to develop a few staunch supporters rather than a multitude of flaky, lukewarm participants. So my question is, how can we build choirs full of staunch supporters who will carry our church music programs far into the future, even after we have left? Well, it takes time. There unfortunately is no quick fix to your dwindling choir problems. You might be able to grow your choir rapidly by hyping it up or incentivizing people to try it out, but any growth you see from this will likely be sporadic and short-lived. So focus on quality growth, not quantity growth. Quality over quantity. Quality is really key in the process of growing your choir, both in recruiting outsiders and retaining insiders, the people you already have. I absolutely believe that you as a music director will see quality results when you put in the quality work, though it's going to take time. Quality work looks like many things, including performing thoughtfully and accurately, caring for the spiritual lives of your congregants, selecting music that pushes and as well as comforts the church, teaching your choir as well as learning yourself constantly, etc. My forthcoming points center around the understanding that quality leadership over a long period of time will beckon outsiders into the choir and transform them into lifelong music lovers. All right, big point number 1. Build the confidence to sing into your congregation. This should be a super high priority if you desire more music lovers and more choir singers in your church. Show that you are invested in congregants' spiritual growth and personal well-being. Prove that you will hold their hand lovingly as they try, fail, and try again at singing and learning new songs. Play repertoire and hymns that comment on and enlighten the liturgy, which is the work of the people. Make the fact that you're doing this really obvious to the congregation. Talk about it, write about it constantly as much as you can. Explain your thought process, like what goes through your head as you choose music for worship to reflect the scripture readings or the topic for the day. People are usually quite interested in this actually, even though you may not think that, and you'll be doing them a great service by divulging your secrets. Build trust between you and the congregation also by demonstrating that you have their backs both musically and spiritually. Through the way that you accompany the worship service music and present yourself as just a Christian person, you can demonstrate that you're not going to let the congregation down because you have their best interests at heart. Show humility as well in your leadership position. Lots of scripture talks about this, but Matthew 23:12 says, "Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted." So there it is. Show interest in becoming part of your church's community. So, like, participate in church events outside of regular duties as much as your schedule allows, and also your sanity, because it can take away from time with family. So be careful with that. Get your congregation to sing more of the liturgy over time. When music is allowed to carry the spoken text of the church, it really seals those texts into your congregates' hearts. Music becomes an integral part of worship and their spiritual devotion, not an afterthought. A note on this. So in order to increase the amount of singing in worship, you absolutely need support from your pastor or pastors and co-workers. Try to get committee members, if there are any, and choir members on your side as well. But I recognize that this is not always possible. So just remember that changing the worship service is not a solo mission. Not a solo mission. Tread lightly and work slowly. Still talking about building confidence to sing in the congregation. All right, so look to the future of your music program by prioritizing your children. If you think it's hard to recruit choir members right now, imagine how hard it's going to be in 30 years when our kids have not grown up valuing church music or becoming comfortable with their voices. Imagine how hard that will be. Church music will be dead for sure. So, value your children. If you don't have a children's choir, involve the children in more casual music making or liturgical roles as much as possible. You can craft a music-themed summer camp rather than VBS. That's an option. You could offer an organ or other instrumental demonstration and invite instrumentalists from the congregation to perhaps come up and show off their instrument and explain it. You could give short talks, perhaps before worship or during Bible study or at some other juncture. Or you can write regular newsletters or congregational emails on the importance of sacred music. Try to do a mixture of all these things as often as you can. Okay, big point number 2. Develop the choir's sense of community and purpose within the church. Choir members spend an awful lot of time together, actually, probably 4 hours at least per week. Ideally, the dynamic of a choir should be both familial between insiders and welcoming to outsiders. This is quite tricky to achieve, of course, especially when you take into account the wide range of personalities that exist. But here are a couple ideas. Host a purely social event outside of church. No music involved. Go to a pub. Go have dinner. Host and advertise an open rehearsal for the choir and church members where all are invited to gather and eat and drink and chat and maybe learn an easy piece. Establish a choir committee to give choir members a sense of ownership over the music making process. Let them make decisions for the choir when they can. Emphasize the leadership role of the choir. Emphasize that the choir bears spiritual responsibilities to God but mostly to their neighbors. Train choir members to be cantors, to sing better, and just to read more advanced music over time. The overall reason behind this is that you want to value and nurture the musical gifts and other gifts that God has given your volunteer choir. In my opinion, avoid hiring section leaders unless you're in desperate times. Don't belittle the time and talent of the amateur singers you have. they are capable of a lot if you are willing to put in the effort to help them get there. So how can you help them? Well, you could provide workshops, which is a lot of work, but I have done it and it was great. You could bring in specialists to do this, or have a retreat, or just keep teaching your choir skills consistently week after week in rehearsal. Invite outsiders into the choir by having choir members send personal invites to congregants. And it's better if this big ask comes from a volunteer in the choir rather than you, I think, because you're an employee. It's just better to come from another congregant. You can advertise and host a pickup choir, which is a casual event where congregants are invited to come maybe an hour before worship and learn a very simple anthem that they will sing during the service. And they're not pressured to come back to choir. It's just a one and done thing. Big point number 3. Show your church that choir members become better musicians and contributors to worship under your instruction. Most people really do want the assurance that if they commit to something like church choir, that they will be spending their time wisely and learning new things at the same time. Don't try to compete with other forms of entertainment, okay? Choir's not going to win. Think about it. There's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Netflix, football, basketball, video games, golf, etc. People are already consumed by way too many activities that are quite fun, easy, and addicting. Sorry, but choir is never going to be fun enough to win the best way to spend your Wednesday night contest. I'm obviously really passionate about this point, but I want to say that I understand that other people disagree on this, and that choir is thrilling and wonderful for many, many folks, and so that's fine. I'm just going to leave this point out there for y'all to process and feel about it however you feel. Okay, feed your choir your best, most inspiring content all the time, consistently. Dazzle them with how much they can learn and grow and imagine because of participating in your choir. Constantly be adding value to their experience in choir. Pique your choir's interest with diverse repertoire that stretches them to sing smarter, to think bigger, and dig deeper within themselves. Try not to pick out anthems that are boring and generic just because you need something easy for the choir to sing at the last minute. Well, of course, these kinds of emergencies do arise, but if you can plan, please plan more creatively. We can do better. Where do you find this diverse repertoire, you may ask? Well, try going to university libraries, or IMSLP, or YouTube even if you are discerning. Old and new hymnals as well, because sometimes the best anthem is just a hymn. Lead efficient, engaging rehearsals. Respect your choir's members' time because they're very busy. And they should go home feeling as though that they progressed at something or learned something. You can still create a positive, enjoyable atmosphere while moving quickly and demanding the best from your singers. So, just to recap, number 1, engender confidence to sing in your congregation. Number 2, build community in the choir. And number 3, strive towards excellence in all that you do. These are just some of my thoughts. There are lots of other tips that other people have talked about out there, and you should definitely check those out. I would love to hear your input on this topic as well, so please comment below. Hope you've enjoyed this, and are able to apply some of the information to your own situation. Again, I'm Hannah at the Church Musicians Assistant. You can check out our Facebook page and patreon.com/the Church Musicians Assistant if you want to subscribe to our sheet music services. We also have a podcast, which is the same thing as this video basically, so you could listen rather than watch. So check that out. Thanks so much. Have a blessed day.